Good afternoon, class. My name is Thomas Boucher, and today I will be presenting to you the Google Smart Car. A little bit of history about Google. It was started by founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Now, Larry and Sergey met in 1995 at the University of Stanford, where they were both computer science graduate students. And together, they collaborated on a project called Backrub. Backrub was a search engine which operated on Stanford's campus for over a year before being taken out of service due to the fact that it took up too much bandwidth. Backrub was then renamed Google in 1997. They got the name Google from the term Google, which is the numeral value for the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. They thought that this was a good term which depicted their mission to organize an infinite amount of information on the web. And then Google as a company was founded finally in 1998. Over the years, Google's been involved in a variety of products and services to include Google Docs, Google Maps, Instant Preview, and Gmail. On October 9, 2010, Google posted on their official blog stating that Larry and Sergey started Google in order to solve real problems through the use of technology. Their current problem was to lower the amount of automobile deaths that occurred each year. It is estimated that over 34,000 deaths occur each year as a result of automobile accidents, and most of these accidents are caused by human errors. Their current project was then to develop a new technology which allowed cars to drive themselves. They believed they would remove the most unreliable part of the car, being the driver themselves. Excuse me. In their 2010 blog post, they reported having logged over 140,000 miles in their self-driving cars. Most of these cars were being driven initially on their Mountain View campus in upstate California, but were soon released into the real world, being driven to the Santa Monica office, as well as down Hollywood Boulevard. The cars are still being manned by trained operators, which are ready to stop and take over the car in the event that the car does anything questionable or unsafe. There is a safety driver behind the wheel, and there is also a trained software operator in the passenger seat operating all the software in the vehicle itself to make sure that everything's running as it should. The car operates similar to cruise control available in most modern day vehicles. If the operator behind the wheel were to press on the brakes or try and steer the car himself, then the computer will be automatically disengaged and the operator will have full control of the vehicle. Ultimately though, it has nothing to do with the car itself, but in reality it's just technology applied to a previously existing vehicle. What is meant by this is that Google did not have to go out and redesign a whole new car in order to make this possible. Instead, they developed new technology and put it in pre-existing vehicles. For instance, their fleet primarily is made up of Toyota Priuses, but they've also put the technology in an Audi TT for their sports car edition, as well as the Lexus RX 450h hybrid for their crossover SUV model. And if you turn your attention to the picture behind me, you'll notice that this here in the center is the Toyota Prius with the installed technology and the installed hardware. On top, you'll find the LiDAR, which is basically a sensor that rotates and does a 3D scan of the environment around the car 200 feet in every direction. It has a video camera mounted in the rearview mirror, so that way you can keep track of the objects in front of the car, as well as 4 sensors in the front bumper, as well as the 2 rear bumpers, keeping track of radar, things that are surrounding the car. Mounted on the rear left wheel is the position estimator. It's basically a GPS tracking unit that keeps track of the vehicle's actual position inside a lane, so that way it does not get too close to any cars that it's driving besides, or the curb on the opposite side. Depicted here is just a little bit more information on the LiDAR that's on top of the vehicle. This is the exact piece of equipment that they used was the high definition LiDAR, the HDL 64E S2, which as it states, it provides high definition 3D information about the surrounding environment. It has 64 lasers and detectors that spin in 360 degrees to map out the entire area. This picture depicted here is using infrared technology of the actual car driving down the road. As you can see, it maps out the entire area and gives the car and the software and the computer in the car a detailed aerial view of everything that's around it. So even though the operators are sitting in the car and they might be driving down the road, maybe there's a semi in front of them, they can't see past that semi. But the car already knows exactly what's in front of that semi, how much space it has in front of that semi, etc., and all objects that are moving around it, including people, other vehicles, monitors stoplights, things of that nature. Some of the benefits of the car is a reduction in automobile accidents and deaths if it were to be fully implemented on the road. If it were to be fully implemented and having everybody have a self-driving car, it would be a reduction in traffic jams due to the fact that cars will then be able to, since they're operated by computers, will be able to drive closer to each other and create a streamline effect which will increase fuel efficiency, and you won't have to allow for as much space on the roadway because you don't have to worry about the person in front of you doing something sporadic. Because of the slipstream effect, it will also increase fuel efficiency, and this will also help out disabled patrons, such as those that are physically disabled, blind, things of that nature. Because then they will now be able to get around by their own means instead of having to rely on somebody else to come pick them up. Some of the issues with the technology, however, are parking. Not sure how the computer is going to be able to recognize things like fire zones, yellow curbs, or if the car is being operated by a valet driver. If you go to your favorite restaurant, hotel, things of that nature, and get your car over to the valet, how is it going to operate in terms of him trying to park it into the garage and things of that nature? Other problems they've had with the technology are weather conditions. Dealing with snow-covered roadways and being able to both map out the area as well as dealing with how slick the roadway is. Dealing with black ice, driving down the road, and possibly hitting a patch of black ice and having the car just completely slide off the road through no fault of the car or the computer, but it's just a weather condition that needs to be accounted for, as well as hydroplaning. They've also had some issues with interpreting temporary construction signals because since they're not built into the current GPS unit, it's harder for the car to distinguish what to do in those situations. Of course, there's always going to be various other tricky situations, such as the car, the vehicle in front of you is driving down the road. Possibly, it could be a truck, and it's containing, carrying some things. If it were to accidentally drop some stuff, and there's an object now on the road, how would the car deal with that object instead of crashing directly into it, maybe swerving off into the next lane to go around the object? Us as drivers, we have the ability to interpret the situation and to make a rational decision on what is the safest course of action to take, so that way we can safely navigate the road. The other issue is the cost of the vehicle. That LiDAR on top of the vehicle by itself costs $30,000. It is estimated that the vehicle, with the initial vehicle cost, the LiDAR, as well as all the other technology and hardware that's being installed in the vehicles, the car can cost well over $300,000. Some of the recommendations for the vehicle, now that they have solved the algorithms needed to compute exactly how to operate a vehicle, they can switch to using some cheaper sensors, which will be able to take some cost out of the equation, and it'll just be made up for by stronger computing efficiency. And also insurance subsidies. For instance, if I were to personally own a vehicle that is a self-driving car, and I could tell my insurance about that, the insurance could then give me a reduction on my insurance cost, as well as donating some money back to Google or to reduce the cost of the vehicles themselves. All right, that concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I will be now taking any questions that anybody has.